Imagine loving someone who hurts you, yet every time you think about leaving, something inside freezes and says, stay a little longer. If you've ever wondered why intelligent, strong women remain in toxic relationships, especially later in life, the real reason may surprise you. Hello, I'm Dr. Nora Hayes. I'm very glad you're here today. This is a safe, judgment-free conversation, especially for women over 50 who have lived, loved, sacrificed, and endured far more than most people ever see. What we're going to talk about today is not about blaming women, and it is certainly not about calling anyone weak. This is about understanding the science, the psychology, and the emotional patterns that quietly keep women tied to relationships that no longer nourish them. When we understand the truth, clarity replaces confusion, and compassion replaces shame. Many women watching this may quietly ask themselves, why did I stay so long? Or why do I still feel attached even after everything? Others may be watching for a sister, a daughter, or close friend. I want you to know something very important right from the start. Staying in a toxic relationship is not a sign of low intelligence, poor judgment, or lack of self-respect. In fact, the reasons are often deeply rooted in biology, early emotional conditioning, and life experiences that become even more powerful after the age of 50. Let me ask you a gentle question as we begin. Have you ever felt that leaving would mean starting all over emotionally, socially, or financially? Or have you ever told yourself, at my age, this is as good as it gets? If any of that sounds familiar, stay with me, because today's conversation may bring you relief you didn't even realize you needed. One of the biggest misconceptions is that women stay in toxic relationships because they don't see the harm. In reality, most women see it very clearly. They feel it in their bodies, in their sleep, in their anxiety, and in the quiet moments when they feel lonely even while lying next to someone. The issue is not awareness. The issue is emotional attachment combined with fear, hope, and deeply ingrained survival instincts. For many women over 50, relationships are not just about romance. They are about history, years, sometimes decades, of shared memories. Children, losses, homes, routines, and identity become intertwined. The human brain is wired to avoid loss, especially later in life when change feels more physically and emotionally demanding. Neuroscience shows us that the brain experiences emotional loss in a way that is very similar to physical pain. So when a woman considers leaving, her brain isn't just evaluating logic. It is responding as if it is facing real danger. Another critical factor is something called intermittent reinforcement. This is a powerful psychological mechanism often seen in toxic relationships. It happens when affection, kindness, or approval comes unpredictably. One day there is warmth, attention, or even love. The next day there is criticism, distance, or emotional withdrawal. The brain becomes hooked on the possibility of the good moments returning. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, is released more intensely when rewards are unpredictable. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Over time, the woman is not staying because things are good, but because her brain is chasing the memory of when they were good. I want you to pause for a moment and reflect. Do the rare good moments feel more powerful than the many painful ones? That is not an accident. That is chemistry at work. For women over 50, there's also a strong generational influence. Many grew up in a time when relationships were meant to be endured, not questioned. Divorce carried stigma. Women were often taught to keep the family together at all costs, to be patient, forgiving, and self-sacrificing. These beliefs don't disappear with age. They become internal rules that quietly guide decisions, even when the relationship is damaging to emotional or physical health. Another layer that often goes unspoken is fear of loneliness. Loneliness in later life feels different than loneliness at 30. At 50 or 60, it can feel final, like a door closing rather than a temporary phase. Some women fear that leaving means facing holidays alone, navigating health challenges without a partner, or losing daily companionship, even if that companionship is painful. The brain often prefers familiar pain over unfamiliar uncertainty. Let me ask you another question. Have you ever thought, at least I know what to expect here? That thought alone keeps many women staying far longer than they ever intended. Financial concerns also play a significant role, especially for women who may have taken career breaks, earned less over time, or relied on a partner for stability. The stress of imagining a new financial reality can feel overwhelming, particularly when energy levels are lower or health concerns are present. The nervous system interprets this stress as a threat, and once again, staying feels safer than leaving, even if it is emotionally costly. There is also the issue of identity. Long-term relationships shape how we see ourselves. Wife, partner, caregiver, peacemaker. When a relationship becomes toxic, the woman often holds on not just to the person, but to who she has been within that relationship. Letting go can feel like losing a part of oneself. This is especially true after 50, when identity feels more fixed and less flexible than it once did. Now, let's talk about empathy, because many women stay in toxic relationships due to deep empathy and compassion. They understand their partner's trauma, stress, or mental health struggles. They tell themselves, if I leave, who will help him? Or he didn't mean it. He's just hurting. Empathy is a beautiful quality, but in toxic relationships, it often becomes one-sided and self-sacrificing. Over time, the woman's needs quietly disappear from the equation. I want to gently ask you, have you ever spent more time understanding his pain than addressing your own? Another powerful factor is hope. Hope can be both healing and harmful. Many women stay because they believe change is just around the corner. They remember who their partner used to be or who they believe he could become. Hope keeps the emotional door open. Even when behavior shows no real change, over time, hope becomes a habit, and reality gets pushed aside. Let's talk briefly about the body, because toxic relationships don't only affect emotions. Chronic stress from emotional conflict raises cortisol levels, which impact sleep, digestion, blood pressure, immune function, and even memory. Many women over 50 report unexplained fatigue, anxiety, or health issues that improve once they leave a toxic environment. The body often recognizes danger before the mind is ready to accept it. If your body feels tense, exhausted, or constantly on edge, it may be trying to tell you something important. Now, I want to be very clear. Understanding why women stay does not mean staying is the right choice. Understanding is not permission to suffer. It is a starting point for clarity. When women understand that their attachment is rooted in biology, conditioning, and fear rather than failure, something powerful happens. Shame begins to loosen its grip. So what helps? The first step is awareness without self-judgment. Instead of asking, what is wrong with me? Ask, what am I responding to? That single shift opens the door to self-compassion. The second step is reconnecting with reality rather than potential. This means looking at patterns, not promises. Change is not measured by apologies or intentions, but by consistent behavior over time. Ask yourself, has this relationship improved in meaningful ways? Or am I surviving a hope alone? Another important step is rebuilding emotional safety outside the relationship. This can mean strengthening friendships, reconnecting with family, or joining support groups where your experiences are validated. Isolation strengthens toxic bonds. Connection weakens them. Professional support can also be life-changing. A therapist, counselor, or coach who understands trauma bonding and long-term relationship dynamics can help untangle emotional attachments safely and gradually. This is not about rushing decisions. It is about regaining clarity and strength. I want you to consider this question carefully. If a close friend described your relationship exactly as it is, what would you want for her? For women over 50, empowerment does not mean dramatic exits or overnight transformation. It often means small, steady steps toward emotional independence. Setting boundaries, listening to your body, honoring your feelings without minimizing them. These are not small acts. They are acts of self-respect. If you are watching this and feeling emotional, please know that you are not alone, and there is nothing wrong with you. Your attachment makes sense. Your struggle makes sense. And your desire for peace and respect makes sense too. I would really like to hear from you. Have you ever stayed longer than you knew you should? What do you think kept you there? Your voice may help another woman feel less alone. If this conversation resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. We talk openly about emotional health, relationships, and well-being for women, navigating midlife and beyond, always grounded in science and compassion. In the next video, we'll explore how to emotionally detach without guilt and rebuild confidence after years of self-doubt, a topic many of you have quietly asked about.